it. Now it's not.
Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Bandhushcha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidyad Ravinam Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we are still in the 18th chapter of BC. And I think Mark said we're on the 53rd verse. So we finished the section where we are looking at life on so many different levels through the lens of the three gunas. Tamas, Rajas, and Tattva. And last week, Krishna changes the subject material and he starts with the review of the practice of meditation. How to meditate and what is the goal of the practice. So that's the topic we're dealing with now, and we'll carry on. So will you help us out, please, tonight? Okay.
Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham parigraham vimuchya nirmamah shanto brahmya bhuyaya kalpate. Having abandoned egoism, power, arrogance, desire, anger, and aggrandizement, and freed from the notion of mine, and therefore peaceful, he is fit to become Brahman.
Yes. So, language fails us. We'll start from the end and go backward. The scriptures talk about becoming Brahman. You already are it. It's not that we gain something, achieve something, have an experience of something. What we have is confusion, delusion. They're like barnacles that we superimpose on who and what we are. I like to watch the history and National Geographic stuff on the television. And I remember some time ago they were talking about the Atocha. Anybody remember that one? It's a Spanish galleon, one of the greatest treasure finds, they found. So they're bringing stuff up from the wreck. And there was this kind of lumpy thing there. And it was kind of cruciform, all covered in barnacles. It's been down there since, I guess, the 1500s. Long, long time. So they put it in these special baths of various chemicals which dissolve the barnacles. They finally got rid of all the barnacles. What was there was this gorgeous, solid gold crucifix studded with precious gems. Now, they didn't create it, they didn't make it, they didn't achieve it. What did they do? They removed the incrustations, the barnacles, so that what was there, Atman, our Buddha nature, the self, ground of being, goes by many, many names, is there. We already are that. So, at the beginning part of the verse, Krishna or Vyasa, our poet, gives us a list of barnacles. What are some of the incrustations which get in the way? Now, let's review the basic problem. Really, we only have 3 barnacles that are problematic. All the rest are based on. So, the first element of the process we call avidya, spiritual ignorance. We are born into a condition of the non-apprehension of my essential nature. I don't know who I am. Then comes the first barnacle, jiva bhavana, the deep feeling, the thought that I'm a person. Asmita, egoism. Ahankriti, ego. I mean, there are many words for it, but the basic thing is I feel like I'm a person. Most especially, I think of my body. And as soon as I feel like I'm a person, that feeling is inherently scary and inherently incomplete. That egoism, that ahankriti, that asmita. I'm afraid there's not enough. Afraid I'm not okay. And then what happens is we start seeking self through the world. And the example I like to use, if you ever go to like a county fair here in the United States, and they've got one of these things with fun house mirrors. You go inside and you look at one mirror and you look very tall, and then you look at another mirror and you're round, and you look at another mirror and you're lumpy, and the various different mirrors distort our reflection. Any of you been to those funhouse mirror things? Mm-hmm. That is what most of us do. And the mirrors we use, listen carefully, are the opinions of other people. I was talking with a person today, and he was talking about how he's got a comparatively new job. He's been there a couple of months, and they have a buddy system where someone is supposed to help them integrate into the culture. And the person who's supposed to be his buddy kind of ignores him. He says hello to her in the hallway, and she just doesn't even respond. And he goes to this place. I'm toxic. I smell bad, or I have some horrible issue, and nobody will sit next to me at lunch or play with me on the playground. That's where it goes back to. I am not okay. And then I said, well, what about the band you play with? Oh yeah, they love me. Oh, we get along well. It's great. I have super great friends. Or other social organizations. Oh yeah, hang out together. We do this, blah 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 blah. So who's right? Am I okay, or am I not okay? And that's the deep problem, because there is no personal self. And the classic example that the scriptures use is a flame. So you can use a candle, or you can use a deepa, a lamp. We have that. We have a candle here. So if I light the candle there on the coffee table, and there's no breeze in the room, the flame looks like a thing. But we all know a flame is actually an event. It's the constant oxidization of the gases of the candle, the paraffin or the beeswax or whatever your candle's made of. Constant. Take a photograph of it. Well, that's like a still thing, but that's not what's going on. So this asmita, this egoism, this ahankriti, this jiva bhavana is like the flame. And that's why we're scared to death all the time, because we want to secure it. That's why stupid questions. Are you really happy? What a dumb question. Oh, I'm happy. And 10 minutes ago, my nose itched. And before that, I was thinking about what I'd had for dinner. And then tomorrow, I've got to, in other words, all these thoughts go by because it's like a flame, constantly moving, constantly changing. The problem is, if in the mind I think I am that jiva bhavana, that asmita, that ahankriti, then I get confused and deluded and fearful. And then the mind presents a goal. What do I need to do to make that ego okay? Now, ego's strategies to attempt to preserve itself are wily and subtle. Ego will use anything to attempt to secure itself, including the spiritual path. I'm a yogi. I'm a student of Swami Slama-Bhavananda. I've been meditating for 40 years. go into some spiritual social event. I've got to wear my spiritual clothes, have a long beard, make sure I'm smiling. You see how holy I am? That's just another form of ego. If I think I'm a person of any kind, in the trap of ego. And as soon as I'm there, as the result of my ignorance, as long as I have that jiva bhavana, that's the first big barnacle, there's a goal. I'll be happy when, it'll be better if, this is how to make myself okay. And it only takes two forms. I either need to fix the world, play whack-a-mole with the world, or I need to fix me. It's out there in the world, you know. That person isn't nice to me. I need to get different friends. Or that person doesn't treat me the way I need to be treated. I'm not getting my needs met. Or if only I lose 10 pounds or gain 10 pounds. Or I'm smarter, or I have a title, or I own a house. Something where I'm better, more okay than I am now. It's a goal. I either want to fix the world or I want to fix me. Because I feel insecure. I feel incomplete. I have this asmita, this egoism, and I want to fix it, secure it. Then the third barnacle, kartavya, literally said means obligatory actions. It's the sense of struggle. And it manifests as kama, craving, spriha, longing, trishna, thirsting, vancha, wanting, want. And this is the tyranny that is the fruit of my spiritual ignorance. This is the dukkha. This is the suffering we all undergo. The mind, the ego, always says, resolve the struggle of ego. More, better, different. Cash and prizes. Be nice to the world and it'll be okay. And if that doesn't work, get out your baseball bat, beat them up. And if that doesn't work, get more flowers for them. Always trying to manipulate, to manage, to secure, to plan, to protect. This is our problem. The root of it all is spiritual ignorance, the non-apprehension of my essential nature. This is called technically a Varana Shakti, veiling power. Then comes Vikshepa Shakti, projecting power. What gets projected? Jiva Bhavana, I think I'm a person. I think the world of name and form is real and solid and joy-giving and misery-producing. And then the struggle of ego. I'll be happy when, it'll be better if. And yoga says the only way out is to drop those three ideas. So you can do a yoga that deals with Jiva Bhavana. Ramana Maharshi, Koham, who am I? Oh wait, there is no me. There's only the ground of being. There's only Chidakasha, the space of your awareness. Or we can deal with the goal. What is this world? It's all illusion. Brahma Satyam Jaganmitya. Why are you chasing things that are unreal? Or Kartavya, work on dropping that. Let go. Let go. Surrender. Surrender. Be here now. Now you can work on all three. But if you work on even just one, the other two will fall. So now let's go through the list that our poet Vyasa has set out and see what some of those strategies are that help us disentangle these three ideas. I feel like a person, there's a goal that I think is going to make it better, and I need to furrow, struggle, work toward that goal. So what was the first idea, Vinayak?
Having abandoned egoism.
Yes. And what was the word he used in Sanskrit? I'm going brain dead. Do you see?
Ahankara.
Ahankara, yeah. That word, I love it. So aham is the first person pronoun. Kara comes from the root kri, to make or to do. We get words like dharma, action, kriya, another form of action, karana, cause, all come from the same root. So ego, which is how it's been translated here, is, I think its origin is Freud, is it not? It literally is the Latin, ego, I am. But ahankara is thoughts, feelings, convictions, perceptions that create the sense of I, the phony I, the false I, the shadow self. Tell me who you are. Oh, I'm Jim. I was born in 1948. I am a musician. I'm the child of Helen and Richard. I have two brothers and a stepsister. I eat too much. I'm fat. I'm old and my memory isn't what it used to be. I tell terrible jokes. People don't like it because I tell terrible jokes. This is I am fill in the blank. And that's what the mind does. And that's what gives us this false, this phony, this fake news sense of self. How do we abandon egoism? One of the words the scriptures use for it is chit chaya. Chaya is also a Hindi word. What does it mean in Hindi?
Shadow.
Shadow. It means both shadow and reflection in Sanskrit. But it's a shadow self. It's not a real self. So if you see your shadow on a bright sunny, well, let's do it this way. Let's say you're here tonight, and if you look down, you may see the shadows of your feet on the ground. What happens if we take a light and shine it on the shadow? What happens to the shadow?
What?
Yeah. So the shadow only appears when something is occluding or standing in the way of the light. Listen very carefully. Ego only appears when awareness is focused outward through the equipment. I'm paying attention to something perceived through the senses, or the body, or a feeling, or a thought, or I keep looking for qualities of a personality. Oh, I'm anxious. I'm doing really well. I'm very peaceful today. So we are looking outward at the equipment. If, on the other hand, we endeavor to quieten the mind and then do what I call a radical reversal of the attentive faculty. Don't look at stuff. See if you can notice the knower. Look behind your eyes, in the space between your thoughts. See if you can notice who sees the thoughts and the space between your thoughts. Now listen carefully. You will never see yourself as an object. It is like trying to look at your eyes. It is like trying to taste your tongue. You can't do it. Yet, even though you've never seen your eyes, you know you see. So, the way to abandon egoism is not phony notions of humility. Oh, Jim, you're such a good teacher. Oh, no, I'm not. It's all Swamiji. No. I'm just a sadhu. That's not what we're talking about. Oh, Fang, you're a really attractive young lady. Oh, no. I'm too short. My hair, this body part, that's phony humility. Self-deprecation is not humility. Listen carefully. Spiritually, humility is not thinking less of yourself. Humility is thinking of yourself less. Yoga is not a process of self-improvement. It is a process of self-abandonment, of self-forgetting. I mean the small self here, this egoism. Any thoughts on this?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You sometimes hear about needing to see through the illusion or just ignoring it. Is there a difference in approach?
I think it's just language there, Michael.
Mm.
So let's say you're in a social situation and friends that you really care about look to someone else and they say, oh, Bill is so spiritual. He's so peaceful. We just love being around Bill. And you watch him. Why are they saying that about me? Don't they know what I'm doing? Look at that. So the first thing we do is you see it. It's an ego thought. Then just don't do something, stand there. Watch it, don't feed it, don't react to it, don't engage it. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, how you label that process, I'm not concerned about. Excellent question. 90% of this is an awareness tool. When you see ahankara arise, oh, look at that. And immediately, to whom did this occur? To me. You can't be the ahankara because you see it. But it doesn't work to beat it up. Oh, I'm going to go out and scrub floors and toilets because that'll make me feel more humble. I mean, you can do that if you want, but that's not the process we're going for. Any thoughts on Zoom about this? Abandoning ahankara. Ramana Maharshi will say it's much like this. So you wake up in the morning and you have the strange idea that you're a goat or a cow or a horse or a pig. And you realize, no, I'm not a goat or a cow or a horse or a pig. So whatever thought the mind presents, I am fill in the blank, is an illusion. You don't need to beat it up. You just need to see its falseness. All right, next idea.
Power?
What's the word? Driti?
No, balam.
Balam. Okay, so we want to give up the desire to be a powerful person. This manifests in all sorts of ways. Fundamentally, the language we would use in our contemporary language is control issues. Whatever's going on, I need to exercise power to fix it or change it. Now, listen carefully. I'm frightened because I see a meaningless universe. I see a meaningless universe because I'm in competition with God. So the Master Jesus says it. I of myself do no thing. It is the Father within that doeth the work. So this is all related to the sense of agency. If I think I am the doer, I'm in control, I need to be powerful, I need to make it happen. That's what we need to let go. That works on dealing with that third idea, the kartavya, the struggler. Now, we are powerless, but we are not helpless. We give up attempts at personal power at any time, knowing that it is a beneficent universe that conspires for our well-being if we let it. And the best practice for this is what in Raja Yoga we call Ishvara Pranidhana, trustful surrender to God. Next idea.
Arrogance.
Arrogance. It's very interesting. The hardest place for ego to reside, if you're identified with your ego, is to be a worker among workers, a fellow among fellows. Yiddish, we say a mensch. What's mensch mean?
Like a good person.
Hmm?
Like a good person.
Yeah, just an ordinary guy, though.
Mm.
Yeah, you're a mensch. What does ego want to do? Takes two places. Either I'm just a little bit better than other people, a little smarter, a little cleverer, a little more insightful, or, oh, I'm more damaged than other people. I came from a worse family of origin. I have trauma. I had abuse in this or trauma there. You know, they don't know the trouble I've had to deal with. So it flips back and forth. I'm either a little bit better, or I'm a little bit worse, or I'm a little bit better, I'm a little bit worse. Does this sound familiar to any of you? And what yoga says is, you are such a textbook case that they wrote a textbook for you on every page 3,500 years ago. Or what I like to say, when you really know your own mind, everybody else's as well. We are far more alike. This fellow that I was talking with this morning, we've started to read this book by Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, the Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism. And it brings to mind an interview I saw online once with someone who was interviewing a Westerner who had traveled extensively with the Dalai Lama. And he was like, what's he like to be around? And the fellow thought for a moment and answered, he's always the smallest person in the room. You know, people are always going, oh, Dalai Lama, Dalai Lama, Dalai Lama. But he's like nothing, empty, no agenda, just present here with you and me. And again, ego will use the path itself. If I'm realized, then maybe they'll love me. I'll be safe then, a little bit better than everybody else. Arrogance. What's the word in Sanskrit for that?
It says darpam.
Next idea.
Jim,
Yes.
can we talk about this a little bit more? Like one of the things I find difficult, practically speaking, is that I see what you mean by this idea of being ordinary, like a fellow amongst fellows, and the smallest person in a room. At the same time, this working as a fellow among fellows, this has its problems, right? In the sense that the environment ordinarily is quite rife with various problems, prejudices, and so on. So I think that for instance, in my case, I'm in a position where I feel like the burden of calling it out many times is on me. So by the very fact of pointing out some of these issues, I am no longer able to be sort of ordinary in the traditional sense, just by saying these things, I call attention to myself in ways that other people are not.
Well, you
So
can
I
draw
find this
attention,
difficult.
you can draw attention to an issue without drawing attention to yourself.
I completely agree. But the fact that you are the person drawing attention to the issue makes people turn their attention to you. So this
You
becomes a
ignore it.
challenge.
You
Right.
just
Okay.
ignore it. I was looking at a video of all people of Queen Elizabeth. And what the commentator said is she did not take herself seriously, but she took her job very seriously. So, if it was some fancy event with all this court protocol and stuff like that, and someone would screw up and they'd forget to curtsy, or they shook her hand first or something like that, or something would fall over, she would just laugh. Because she knew that part of it was very silly. And one of the things she loved more than anything was horses. And she used to say, a horse doesn't know whether you're the Queen of England or a groom. The horse knows when you're nice to it. I don't know if you're getting the taste of this. You can be in a position that, what you're supposed to do is have trappings, academic, this or that. But inside, don't take yourself too seriously.
Yes, right. I get that. Yes. I just wanted to bring up, have us discuss this a bit.
And again, not false humility. You don't back away from issues.
Right. Yeah.
But like, for example, I was talking with another fellow who's an academic, and he was teaching a class on LGBT sensibilities. I think this was at San Francisco State. It might have been at San Francisco Community College. And there was this fellow who shows up who's an ex-Marine. And in this class, he said about a third of the people were LGBT themselves. Another third of the class were people who had a relative or a dear friend. Another third of the class were just interested in justice and all the issues. This guy was very unique. What he wanted to do was present the opposite idea, why being LGBT is wrong, probably based in something religious.
Right.
My friend took him aside and says, look, one of my objectives in this class, it's a speech class, is to create and hold space where people feel safe. So, you can believe anything you want, but you can't give a speech in this class unless you run it by me first. And the student says, you can't do that. My friend says, watch me. So, he was in the guy's face. So it doesn't mean we don't speak truth to power. We don't stand up to injustice. Of course we do. Of course we do. Of course, we have to be willing to take whatever consequences come. You're tenured faculty, aren't you?
Yes.
They can't do a thing to you.
Yeah, no, it's not about that. It's just that I think that it's a difficult balance of, being ordinary. Sometimes I feel that as a sadhak, being ordinary and not engage, like not drawing attention to myself is
No.
important.
If the situation demands that you are the center of attention, then you do it because you fulfill a role.
Right.
But that's what it is. The Queen of England has to put on all this formal gear and heavy jewelry. She has to wear a three-pound crown. Is it comfortable? Oh God, no. You can't even look down and it falls off. But that's her role. She had state opening of Parliament. She has to wear all this regalia and go there and read a speech she didn't even write. But she fulfills her role as head of state and government. So I don't know what role you will need to play. That will become obvious, but you wear it loosely. And in the summer, when she was up at Balmoral, pretty fancy home. But Prince Philip would barbecue in the backyard and she would do the dishes. She just did not take it all that seriously. So whatever role you need to fulfill, you do it. But you be empty inside. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you, Jim.
Very good question. All right, next idea.
Desire.
And is he used comma?
Yes.
Yes. So how do we give up desire? You cannot do it through willpower. In an earlier chapter, Krishna says that person who gives up the objects of desire but allows the desire to remain behind is verily a hypocrite. And you see all sorts of religious communities, East and West, where renunciation, sannyas, or in the West, we take them vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. And people are doing it out of willpower. And as people age, you can see they become nasty and bitter because they have no joy in their lives. But Krishna says the desire leaves them on seeing the Supreme. Meaning, sublimate your desires of this world into mumukshutva, the burning desire for liberation. Abhyasa vairagyacha. Practice, meditate, vairagya, out of insight, out of an understanding that it's the longing itself that's my suffering. We develop the ability to start letting things go. Now listen carefully. To try to practice the renunciation of desire without having a meditative practice is probably not going to be successful, because the ruthless rule of the mind is this: it will return to the experience that's given it the greatest joy. And if sex has given you the greatest joy, or the approval of your peers has given you the greatest joy, or money has given you the greatest joy, or winning at the slot machines at the casino has given you the greatest joy, you can hold it back, from willpower for a while, but you're going to return to that. If not in action, at least in your mind. Thank God, God is the most beloved, or we'd all be screwed. So what the yogi wants to cultivate is the mind abiding absorbed in the self. So probably my favorite verse in the Gita is chapter 2, verse 55. When a person casts off all the desires of the mind, O Partha, and is satisfied in the self, by the self, can engage in this Atmaramana, then they're said to be a person of steady wisdom. Don't worry so much about leaving the world. Go towards the self. Go towards Krishna. The world will leave you. But in the end, what we need to do is get out. Give up the tyranny of the indulgent part of the mind. I must have this in order to be happy. I'll never do it that way. It'll make me miserable. All of that is based on this error belief. The world is where happiness is. Master Jesus said it, my kingdom is not of this world. I am in the world, but not of it. Second chapter, Krishna will also say, what is day to the yogi is night to others. And what is day to others is night for the yogi. Meaning, the cash and prizes, the ambitions of the world mean nothing for the yogi. She has another playground. That's day for her. The world doesn't even know it exists. All right, next idea.
Anger and aggrandizement.
Anger and what?
Aggrandizement.
Aggrandizement. Wanting to grasp and get stuff.
Parigraham.
What?
Krodham parigraham.
Parigraham. Graham means to grasp. So grabbing things. So what is anger? Anger is thwarted desire, unmet expectation. That's the Vedantic definition of anger. I have justifiable anger. They cheated me. Can I be angry at people who were unjust in the world? You can do whatever you want, but what it is, it's a mental state when I'm not getting what I want, or I have an unmet expectation. Listen carefully. You can act in the world for justice without being angry. Now, many of you know one of my favorite movies is Gandhi with Ben Kingsley. One of the things I love about it is it shows on the film Gandhiji's relationship with the British. He absolutely stood for British independence. But he did his best not to act from anger or to respond to abuse. And strive hard for justice. Another story about His Holiness the Dalai Lama. He was once asked why the Tibetans never fought back against the Chinese. And then he said, if I had fought back, then the war would have got inside me. Very interesting response. Next idea.
And freed from the notion of mind.
M-I-N-E, right? Okay, so what we want to understand is everything is temporary, all is mine to use, none is mine to own. Now, some spiritual traditions will say everything is a gift from God. Well, I prefer to say everything is on loan from God. God is the ultimate repo man. You never know when the lease agreement's up and he's going to take it back, including the body itself. So the yogi endeavors to accept everything that comes, meaning the joys and the sorrows, and let go as everything passes away, because it all will. All of it. And when you really get that happiness is the mind abiding in the self, it's not in the objects, then what seem to be precious jewels and gold is seen to be trinkets and baubles. Pretty to look at. Inherently empty. Next idea.
And therefore peaceful.
So when we have this complete acceptance of life on life's terms, we've given up this grasping quality of people, places, things, and conditions. The mind can easily rest in the self. We find the pearl of great price, the chintamani, the wish-fulfilling gem, which is peace of mind. And then he says that person's fit for Brahman, right? All right. Okay, let's try the next one.
Brahma bhuta prasannatmana shochitana kanksati samaha sarveshu bhuteshu mata bhaktim labhato parama. Becoming Brahman, serene in the self, he neither grieves nor desires. The same to all beings, he obtains a supreme devotion towards me.
Yes. So again, not that he becomes something or achieves something or attains something. Self-realization is very simple in the end. We're looking for, we already have. It's yourself. What's the problem? The habituated extroversion of the mind because of lifetimes of ignorance. So we keep bringing the mind home over and over again. we can remember to rest in the sound. There's a Hebrew psalm that I love. One of the refrains, one of the verses is taste and see the goodness of the Lord, meaning yourself. And the yogi understands what I call the great cosmic teeter-totter. The more I'm attached to the world, the more I'm trying to control, get what I want, the less my peace. The more I let go of the world, the more I surrender. And I have a peace that is not of this world. It's independent. So let's go phrase by phrase. The first idea.
Serene in the self.
That doesn't mean some physical posture. Shankara will say Viveka Chudamani, talking about the man of wisdom or the person of wisdom, who's a full knower of the Supreme, who has retired into the Supreme, who is as calm as a fire that has burned up its fuel. Love that image. At one point, like all the rest of us, raging inferno of desire, but it's banked cold. And she not only is a knower of Brahman, but she has retired. Next idea.
He neither grieves nor desires.
So we grieve when we lose what we think we need or want. We desire when I don't have what I want, I think that person, place, thing, or condition is going to do it. But for the person of steady wisdom, the objects of the senses, it's like a thimble full of water poured into the ocean. Doesn't raise the level of the ocean. Nor if you take a cup and you take it out of the ocean, doesn't lower the ocean. Next idea.
The same to all beings.
So I like to say God has no taste. God loves people you and I would have nothing to do with. We are to learn to love as God loves. Don't pay attention to their stupid minds, their ulcerated behaviors and things like that. Look into their eyes. See the conscious being that's in there. That's the same self that you are. So the person of steady wisdom loves everyone and everything. Not a love with attachment. Personal love in Sanskrit, we've got two words for it. We've got snihati and lubhyati, both of which have negative connotations. One means like really attached, and the other is kind of oily and smarmy. But we have another word. We have parama prema. Love for the infinite. for the yogi, every form is a manifestation of the divine. For many of us, we naturally get a sense of that when we are in nature. We go up to the redwoods. Oh God, they're so beautiful, so majestic. Or in India, we travel in the Himalayas. There's such splendor, such grandeur. Popped into my mind. I went from Delhi, not Delhi, it was Mumbai, to visit Swami Tejo Mayananda, who was at Chinmaya Vibhuti, which is near Pune. And we went through, are they called the Western Ghats? Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Gorgeous countryside. Oh my God, is it beautiful. But so frequently, this is where we have this intuitive response. Nobody says, that's an ugly tree, you know, I really like that tree, I'm going to cut it down and take it. No, that's not our response. Actually, all of the names and forms are just as much God. All right, next idea.
He obtains a supreme devotion towards me.
So this Parama Prema, supreme love, this Atmarama, this devotion to the sun. So our yoga is not just from the neck up. It's not just about clarity of mind, minimal thought. It also has to happen in the heart. If you've ever been in love, know that that is just a taste what this prema is. It's available. You can have it. A supreme devotion to the infinite. Is that all of that verse?
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is a good place to start. Any questions? All right, we'll end here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jim.